our purpose in doing that ultimately is to make life better for billions of people, billions of times a day. Education, I think, is incredibly important, especially in technology, and I think that's been a key, to India's tremendous success. I think the culture in India is great. You care about each other, you care about the community. That's how you make the big changes, is doing what people thought was impossible. India is a very important market for us. I think to continue making a huge difference and to make a bigger difference, being the world's most distributed cloud platform. Quite often there's somebody less than half my age, individual contributor that I'm going to learn something from, and they're going to have a better idea. And that's great.
Dr. Layton, it's a pleasure talking to you today, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm not talking to just the co-founder and CEO of Akamai, but you are a pioneer of internet distribution, what we consume, what we know today in the world that we're living in. You are one of the the early few people who defined how internet and how it would be delivered and consumed. Thank you so much for talking to us. Over the years, you've done this consistently, and today Akamai is a leader when it comes to delivery and acceleration of services, security, and now in distributed cloud services. How do you retain and cultivate this innovation mindset?
That's so important. It's easy to be innovative when you're a startup. You got a few people, you're all in the same room, and you're doing innovative things by definition. And that does get more challenging when you're a bigger company. You got to fight the bureaucracy. You got people spread all over the world. And you really got to work harder at it. Now, it's not that you don't have ideas. In fact, we've got smartest people in the world working for Akamai with incredibly innovative ideas. But it becomes easier to say no to things. And you got to go out of your way to provide oxygen to the sparks, so that they can flourish, and put programs in place to do that. In fact, one of the really innovative things that came from our Bangalore office, 10 years ago, is a program we call Wizards. And it's a program where employees submit ideas, innovations for making the company better, the world better, and then there's a competition where they get feedback from their peers, there's judging rounds, and maybe then you get a smaller number of teams advance to the next round, more people contribute to those ideas to make them better, and eventually get the final round where we reviewed the final 8 out of hundreds of proposals, fabulous ideas, amazing presentations, and they become products that do make the world better, because we fund them, when they get to that level. But so there's programs like that you got to put in place. A culture, is important, that it's the quality of the idea that matters, not the rank of the person who said it. But it's, ideas first.
Dr. Layton, what I'm hearing you say is that giving everyone an equal opportunity to voice their ideas and represent what they're building builds a culture, builds a sustained culture of innovation, because it's actually walking the talk and making it happen. So everyone gets a voice in Akamai.
Absolutely. Diversity and inclusion is important, getting people's ideas on the table. It's a disaster if people feel they can't, contribute an idea, or they're worried that it'll appear stupid. Because the biggest innovations are ideas that are impossible. Right? Yeah. And that's how you make change in the world. And you need an environment where people feel safe to say, well, what about we try this? Yeah. And not just shut it down, but think about it, because maybe it works.
And maybe it also helps to have a founder who is an innovator himself. So if I had to, and then because we'll be reaching out to millions of entrepreneurs who will be listening to us, is that as a founder, as someone who's heading Akamai and the way it has grown and expanded, how do you continue to retain, and you are such a, you're known for holding so many patents yourself, how do you continue to lead people with an innovative framework and mindset, and how do you make the journey yourself as a leader?
Well, I think, at this point, my job is to help enable the people doing the innovation. And we have really innovative people at Akamai, and to support them, give them a chance, help identify which ideas really can make a difference. And there is a flip side to this. As a company, you can't fund everything forever. And so sometimes ideas looked really promising and won't work, and then you do get to a painful state where you say, okay, that one, all right, we gotta stop for now anyway, and then reinvest the resources in new ideas that maybe give them a chance to be successful. So there is a balance between funding all the innovation, but also operating as a successful, profitable company for the shareholders.
We are sitting here in Bengaluru, India market, which is really exploding when it comes to people adopting and working on cloud and cloud technology. Tell us about Linode.
Linode was what was called an alternative cloud, and they were a leader at that. And that means that they have the similar kind of services to the big hyperscalers, things like EC2 or S3, targeted at small and medium business and the developer, really user-friendly. You can spin up your container in literally 2 minutes and you're off and going. Transparent pricing and less expensive, more affordable pricing. So developers love Linode. We have 150,000 a month that use it. And what we're going to do, we are doing with Linode, is preserving all of that, which is great, but also increasing the scale, so massive build out, so that large enterprises can use it at scale. Also increasing the functionality to have the mission critical kinds of support that you need for big enterprises, so that we can now provide large enterprises with easy to use, more affordable, transparently priced compute, which I think they need today. The cloud compute bills have been skyrocketing. Yeah. And that's hard, especially in a time when you're worried about a global recession and inflation, and companies have to economize more.
What do you think are some of the things waiting to happen when it comes to cloud computing?
I think, everything is moving to the cloud. Yeah. And really, I think ultimately to the edge, and with IoT, 5G helps to enable that. And you can see it in the numbers. The cloud compute market, way over $100 billion, growing at 25 or 30% a year. So just an enormous adoption. And you think about what are the big things in the future that might be things like, the metaverse. Who knows if that happens? Maybe. Pretty interesting concept. Maybe a little scary. We're all wearing our devices a lot more of the time. But that's a huge area for the cloud, so that you have an identity there. You're consuming your video and your media. You're playing your games. You're doing your business meetings, all your commerce, all in this environment. It's an interesting idea. IoT has been a sort of a buzzword for a long time. That's starting to get more serious, and 5G enables all these devices to get connected, and the devices are smart. They've got the full-powered CPU now to be smart. Great opportunity for edge computing, and there's massive amounts of data that you got to process efficiently.
Cloud is growing in India, and Akamai, do you see Akamai as a late entrant in the space?
Well, in terms of cloud broadly construed, we're one of the earliest entrants. We created the content delivery market. Yeah. Before that, you bought your own servers and put them in data centers to try to deliver content. And then, we created the security as a cloud service market with our web application firewall a little over 10 years ago. Broadly construed, we were one of the pioneers in cloud. Now, edge computing, we've been doing 20 years there, so again, a pioneer. In terms of the core cloud compute market, well, the hyperscalers, AWS, really the pioneer, done a fabulous job there. And now we are entering that market. So we're not the first there, but we're going to be the most distributed globally. And also here in India. You know, today we have one location for compute as a result of the Linode acquisition. But over the course of the next year, we'll be adding 5 more. Which will be bigger than most of the hyperscalers and comparable to the largest hyperscaler. India is a very important market for us, a rapidly growing revenue and customer base. And of course, in many ways, in terms of the events, the largest market in the world. You know, you look at cricket and some of the events that we do here, and routinely we set global records in India for events, which is really amazing. So I think a lot of future growth for us in India. It's really exciting.
Dr. Layton, you started Akamai in 1998, and today we are sitting, you know, we are towards the end of 2022. And if I had to ask you from your vantage point, because you've seen the tech industry that we're living in, somewhere, you know, you've not just seen, you're a builder, participant in this internet economy that we're living in. What are 1 or 2 things that you would say that you as a leader think when you look at Akamai and the future that it has to take? What are 1 or 2 things that helps you decide, okay, these are the areas that we'll heavily invest in and these are things we'll let go? I'm asking you also because the decision-making process, as we all are now, it's not 1998 anymore, it is a very hyper-competitive world that we're living in. How do you decide what to go for and what to let go?
Really, it's governed by what our customers need.
Okay.
And what they tell us they want, what we think they're going to need as sort of everything moves online. Yeah. And our mission is to power and protect life online, and broadly construed. And our purpose in doing that ultimately is to make life better for billions of people, billions of times a day, literally. In fact, it's actually, we do 7 trillion DNS resolutions every day. Yeah. Pretty much all of them in most countries of the world. We do the DNS resolutions. And we do them better, more securely, and faster. And that makes a better experience for end users. As we look towards the future, we are a full services cloud provider. And in particular, we're the most distributed cloud services provider. We're not the biggest. I mean, there's hyperscalers out there that are enormous and fabulous companies, but in terms of our footprint and distribution, we're the most distributed by a good margin. We started with CDN. We're the largest provider there, even compared to the hyperscalers. Then moved to security, and we created the web application firewall as a cloud service marketplace. And we're the leader there. And now the third leg of the stool is cloud compute, core cloud compute. We've been doing edge computing for 20 years. But that is limited really to function as a service on a session-based way. And a lot of the business today is in core cloud compute. And you see that reflected in the huge success of the hyperscalers. And so now, we're going to provide capabilities there too, integrated into our platform that does the delivery and the security. And so now our customers will be able to build and run their applications on Akamai as well. And we'll give them better performance at a lower total cost of ownership.
What would you tell enterprises, large startups, different organizations who are listening to you? What is your view on security and how, because we don't think of security even if we become mid-sized companies as much. What would you say?
It's a very asymmetric situation. It is so easy for the attackers today. Everything is connected, which makes it easy for attackers to operate remotely. An enterprise might have 100,000 things they got to worry about to defend. If one of them isn't defended well, The attacker has bot armies that are trying them all, and they're going to find their way in. The software we all use based on open source, it's ubiquitous, and it's got lots of vulnerabilities. Yeah. And we keep discovering more. Some of them have actually been out there for years and we didn't know. You know, the malware is getting into the digital supply chain in all different kinds of places. The bad guys have figured out how to do that. And so enterprises are operating with vulnerabilities that the malware can exploit very easily. You know, there's talk about having a software bill of materials or SBOM, so you would know all the software you're running. Very, very hard. And even today, you know, you look at a vulnerability that's released where suddenly we know about it, like Log4j or OpenSSL more recently, and it takes enterprises weeks or months just to find out where they've got the vulnerability, because there's these large infrastructures and you don't know what's there. Now, this is an area where Akamai is making major investments, you know, to help protect companies, to, you know, let them know in hours, not months, where the vulnerabilities exist as they're discovered. And capability with a company called Guardicore we bought with segmentation that does that really well. And that also, when you do get the malware inside, to detect it quickly and block it from spreading so it can't cause the damage. You know, when ransomware gets in, the first machine it gets into usually is not that important, often wasn't defended as well. And so the ransomware hasn't caused damage yet. The problem is then it spreads to everything and locks it down. And if you can block the spread, now you stop the damage. Or data exfiltration, where the bad guys are stealing all the data. The first machine that's compromised, not that big a deal. Again, it's the spread, where all the internal data is collected and you know, sent out to a botnet. And so that's an area we put a lot of focus, is detecting, you know, bad things inside and then blocking the spread to limit the damage.
What are some of the things that you've done right, which, you know, we all and all entrepreneurs and everyone could pick to get the company to be here?
Number one is about the people. That is just so important. It's our most important asset. And you really need to put the customer first, really care about what the customer needs. You can have the coolest technology in the world, and it won't matter if it doesn't solve a really important problem for the customer. And it's the people that make the customer really happy. It's the people that come up with the great innovations, that make the great products. So I think those are the keys. You know, it's about the team, you know, not about the individual. So, you know, it's not an individual kind of culture at Akamai. You know, it's having a team around you that collectively is so much more powerful and more capable. And, you know, having people feel that they can speak up with ideas and have it be about the quality of the idea, not the rank of the person. You know, so I'm the CEO, you know, but, you know, quite often there's somebody less than half my age, you know, individual contributor that I'm going to learn something from, you know, and they're going to have a better idea.
If you had to tell all the leaders, business leaders, government here, and startups, in terms of if we had to imagine the next 2-3 years with the growth that we are seeing, what are one or two things from your journey you would say that we should be, one, mindful and cautious of, and second, focus on?
Education, I think, is incredibly important, especially in technology, and I think that's been a key, you know, to India's tremendous success. Is you've got a tremendous university system, you know, and you're educating large numbers of people to be the best in the world, and so that's great. You know, really smart people. I think the culture in India is great. You know, you care about each other, you care about the communities, really important. You know, so it's a very natural fit for us. In fact, we look at our growth and more than a quarter of our people are now in India, spread across the country. In fact, with COVID, now really spread through India. And it's an amazing culture as a country and very consistent with Akamai values.
What is your definition of success? What has been your and has it been consistent, your definition of success?
I think to make a difference, literally to make life better for billions of people. You know, and we're solving hard technical problems to do that. I come from a technical background,
yes.
So you know, there's particular, like to do it using technology to make life better for people, and that's sort of been the mission and the goal from day one. It wasn't about making money. Now, of course, we want to make money for our shareholders. We are a company, so that's obviously very important. But it's really making a difference for humanity through technology.
Have you ever in your life felt like it's tough and
it is hard?
And what are one or two things that you've done when it is hard to process it?
Yeah, it is. There's constant challenges. I mean, you're trying to do the impossible, what people say is impossible.
Yeah.
You're trying to change the world in some way. These technical problems are hard. The business problems are hard. I think what's helped us is, tenacity. I think you want to listen when somebody tells you it's impossible to do, and then think about it carefully. And if they're right, okay, change direction. But if you believe you have a path forward that makes sense, then don't let it deter you that people say it's impossible. Because that's how you make the big changes, is doing what people thought was impossible. And we've been told that a lot. Content delivery as a service wasn't supposed to be possible. I had people tell me early on that the only reason we were able to do it is because we were too naive to know it was impossible. And maybe there's truth to that. I think the growth mindset is really important. And part of that is we believe we can do these things. And because we believe, we have a much better chance of doing it. So I think, having the tenacity, which is part of our culture, is really doing the hard things and believing we can and working as a team to do it.
Dr. Layton, if I asked you to go back 20 years in time and as maybe just a startup entrepreneur, if you had to tell all the Indians watching today and you had to pitch that, why Akamai should be their preferred partner in their journeys, what would you say?
Well, if you're looking for the services, first, we're going to support you. We care about you, the customers first, and we're going to do our best to give you services that improve your performance, that keep you secure, and at a great price point, so that it'll be economic for you, and that we care. We'll be there for you, because in tech, invariably things go wrong. Now we put a lot of effort into keeping that to a minimum, but when something does go wrong, if it's us or something else, we're going to be there to help you through it.
What has been the purpose, your individual personal purpose that has driven you? Because no journey is easy, and you've continued to be in this journey and grow in this journey. What has driven you?
I think it's the same as we say for the company. We have a chance I get to work with great people, to solve hard technical problems. These days they do the solving, but I get to help and to watch and enjoy, and it makes a difference for the world.
Yeah.
And it's a positive difference, for the world, and that's why.
That's the purpose.
Yeah.
What's your vision for Akamai?
I think to continue making a huge difference and to make a bigger difference, and that, is through, being the world's most distributed cloud platform, so that the applications of the future can be built on Akamai, run on Akamai, obviously delivered with great performance and scale, and secured. And security is always tough.
Thank you, Dr. Layton. It has been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.